Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Been a long time gone, Constantinople, now it's Turkish delight on a moonlit night. Every gal in Constantinople lives in Istanbul.
Nationalism in the Middle East. In this section, you'll learn how the decline and fall of the Ottoman Empire led to the creation of the Turkish Republic. You'll also learn how Persia became the modern state of Iran, and how changes in the Middle East after World War I led to conflicts in that region that continue today. Decline and fall of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire had been growing weaker since the end of the 18th century. Its size had decreased dramatically. In North Africa, Ottoman rule had ended in the 19th century when France seized Algeria and Tunisia, and Great Britain took control of Egypt. Greece also declared its independence in the 19th century. In 1876, reformers took control of the empire's government. They adopted a constitution with the goal of forming a legislative assembly, but the sultan they put on the throne, Abdulhamid II, suspended the new constitution. The constitution became a symbol of change to a group of reformers named the Young Turks. This group forced the restoration of the constitution in 1908. They deposed the sultan in 1909. The Ottoman Empire came to an end during World War I. The Ottoman government allied with Germany. As a result, the British tried to undermine the Ottoman Empire by supporting Arab nationalists in the Arab Peninsula. In 1916, the local governor of Makkah declared Arabia's independence. British troops seized Palestine. During the war, the Ottoman Turks practiced genocide, or the deliberate mass murder of a particular racial, political, or cultural group. A similar practice would be called ethnic cleansing in the Bosnian War of 1993 to 1996. The Christian Armenians were a minority in the Ottoman Empire. They had been demanding their independence for years. In 1915, the government reacted to an Armenian uprising by killing Armenian men and deporting, or sending them out of the country, women and children. By 1918, 1.4 million Armenians had been killed. At the end of World War I, the Ottoman Empire collapsed. Great Britain and France divided up territories in the Middle East. Greece invaded Turkey and seized western parts of the Anatolian Peninsula. As a result of this invasion, Colonel Mustafa Kemal called for the creation of an elected government. His forces drove the Greeks from the Anatolian Peninsula. The Ottoman sultans fled the country, which was now declared to be the Turkish Republic. Colonel Kemal became president. The modernization of Turkey. President Kemal was now known as Ataturk, or Father Turk. A democratic system was put in place. But Kemal did not allow opposition and suppressed his critics. He tried to transform Turkey into a modern state. Popular education was introduced. All Turkish citizens were forced to adopt family or last names, like the Europeans had. Factories were built, and a 5-year plan was developed for the economy. Ataturk also tried to break the power of the Islamic religion. He wanted to make Turkey a secular state, or a state that rejects religious influence on its politics. The caliphate was abolished in 1924. Men were forbidden to wear the fez, the cap worn by Turkish Muslims. Women were forbidden from wearing the veil, an Islamic custom. New laws gave women marriage and inheritance rights. In 1934, women received the right to vote. All citizens were given the right to convert to other religions. The beginnings of modern Iran. In Persia, the Qajar dynasty, from 1794 to 1925, had not been very successful in resolving the country's problems. The discovery of oil in the country in 1908 attracted foreign interests. The presence of more and more foreigners led to the rise of a Persian national movement. In 1921, Reza Khan led a military uprising that took control of Tehran, the capital. In 1925, Reza Khan made himself the Shah, or king, and was called Reza Shah Pahlavi. He introduced a number of reforms to modernize the government, the military, and the economic system. He did not try to destroy Islamic beliefs, but he did encourage a Western-style education system. He also forbade women to wear the veil in public. Persia became the modern state of Iran in 1935. To free himself from Great Britain and the Soviet Union, Reza Shah Pahlavi drew nearer to Nazi Germany. The Soviet Union and Great Britain sent troops to Iran during World War II. Reza Shah Pahlavi resigned in protest and was replaced by his son, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. Arab nationalism. World War I gave Arabs the chance to escape from Ottoman rule. The Arabs were not an actual nation, but a collection of peoples united by language and religion. Great Britain had supported Arab nationalists in 1916. The nationalists hoped that this support would continue after the war. Instead, France and Britain created mandates in the area. These mandates were territories that had been previously part of the Ottoman Empire, but were now supervised by the League of Nations. Great Britain was given the right to govern Iraq and Jordan. France governed Syria and Lebanon. In most of these nations, the Europeans determined the borders and divided the peoples. In most cases, the people in each country did not identify strongly with their country, but they continued to have a sense of Arab nationalism. In the early 1920s, a reform leader, Ibn Saud, united Arabs in the northern part of the Arabian Peninsula. Saud had a great deal of support among Arab peoples. He created the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in 1932. The word Saudi comes from his name. At first, Saudi Arabia was very poor. Muslim pilgrimages to Mecca and Medina were its main source of income. During the 1930s, however, U.S. prospectors began to explore for oil. Standard Oil found oil in Dhahran on the Persian Gulf in 1938. Saudi Arabia was flooded with Western oil industries that brought the promise of wealth. The Problem of Palestine. The situation in Palestine made the Middle East even more complicated. Palestine had been the home of the Jews in ancient times, but few had lived there for almost 2,000 years. Palestine was mainly inhabited by Muslims. In 1917, in the Balfour Declaration, Britain supported the idea of making Palestine a national home for the Jews. This made Arab nationals angry. They questioned how a national home for the Jews could be created in a territory that was 98% Muslim. The promises of the Balfour Declaration drew Jewish settlers to Palestine. During the 1930s, tensions between the Jews and the Muslims increased. At the same time, persecution of Jews in Nazi Germany caused many European Jews to flee to Palestine. In 1939, there were about 450,000 Jews in Palestine. Because of Arab protests, the British decided in 1939 that only 75,000 Jewish immigrants would be allowed into Palestine over the next 5 years. After that, no more Jews could enter the country. This decision would produce severe conflicts in the region.